Good morning, everybody. So this is our second ELA video. It is April 20th. If that's the day you're watching this, it might be later, and that's okay. We're going to start going over what we're going to do this week, and let me just pull up our file for today. Monday, April 20th, 2020, and we are doing our ELA instructional video. So our lessons for this week, you guys are going to be doing Ready, Common Core, pages 368 to 375. You're going to read Bud, Not Buddy, chapters 5 through 8. You're going to answer your Google assignment or question. You have a writing sheet that you're going to edit, and then you want to make sure you're doing 16 units of Lexia as well. So this is called Jimmy Jet and His TV Set. And it's written by Shel Silverstein, who is an incredible poet. He writes a lot of silly, fun poems. He lives in Massachusetts. Jimmy Jet and His TV Set. I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean, from the early show to the late, late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and antennae grew out of his hair. And his brain turned in TV tubes and his face to a TV screen, and two knobs saying vert and horiz grew where his ears had been. And he grew a plug that looked like a tail, so we plugged in little Jim. And now, instead of him watching TV, we all sit around and watch him. And today we're going to be talking about an author's reasons and evidence. And this is something we've been talking about throughout the school year for fourth grade. It is really, really important that you cite your reasons and you give clear evidence. Our lesson that we're doing is lesson 23. It's explaining an author's reasons and evidence. Our learning target for today is explaining how authors use reasons and evidence to support their points about a topic. Will help you better understand what you read. So some authors write to get you to agree with their way of thinking about a topic. To persuade you, authors provide points or ideas to explain their thinking. And you guys might be at home sharing a device or something with your brother and sister, and you might have to say, like, I need the computer right now, I have to do homework, and it's not fair you had it for the last hour, and you know, it's time for bed, I need to have that. You probably have a point, which is that you want your computer, and you will come up with some reasons why that's the case. So that's what we're looking at today, is when you try to persuade someone, you try to get them to think your idea or agree with you. Authors back up their points with good reasons, telling why their ideas might be true. Authors support each reason with evidence or facts and examples that explain more. Good reasons and evidence are what makes the author's points convincing. And like I said, you guys do this all the time when you're trying to beg your parents for things or your family for things. You try to persuade them. That's what you're doing right now.
I want a dog! What?
Weird.
What do you... I want a dog! Why can't I get a dog?
You're not getting a dog like that!
I want a dog!
Now...
There.
Hey, Miss Dresser, can we get a dog?
Well, I don't know about that. Why would we get a dog?
Look, let me explain. It teaches responsibility. We'll have to walk it and feed it.
Okay.
And it won't destroy everything we own. Because
Interesting.
we'll teach it to not do that.
Those are some compelling reasons, Vivian. Reasons are always helpful when you're making an argument.
Yes, they are.
Okay, cut.
Child think. What's the child's point? The child's point is that we need a dog. The little boy says, I don't want a dog. And when you go after parents and say, I want a dog, that's usually not going to end up right. You have to maybe package it as you need something. And we talked about this with propaganda in class and advertising. And you tell people like, oh, you really do need new socks. They're going to help you run even faster. It's like you don't actually need new socks to run faster. But if you convince someone that they need something, you can persuade them a lot easier. So this one here is, we need a dog. That's her point. What are the reasons? Well, I can look at the chart, and she actually has a very compelling chart that this little girl has made. She says we need a dog, and right underneath it, she gives you the reasons. So the first reason is that it's going to teach her responsibility. Teaches her to be responsible. That's what she says. Now, I can tell you that Vivian said the exact same thing. She said, if we get a dog, it's going to teach me to be responsible. And the evidence for that, the way the child was thinking, and this is the exact same thing that Vivian said, is that the dog has to be walked every day, and the dog has to be fed every day. So that's her point, is that she needs a dog. We need a dog. And the reason why we need it is because it's going to teach this little girl how to be responsible. And it's going to teach her to be responsible because she has to walk the dog every day, and the dog has to be fed every day. This is kind of implying that the little girl is going to be doing the walking and the feeding of the dog. And I think that's not how it ended up in our family. And hopefully for this little girl, especially for these parents, I hope that this little gal did end up walking that dog. So one of the reasons is to teach her to be responsible. But she also gives another little reason. She says that we need a dog to guard the home. So that's another reason, is to guard the home. Why do we need a dog? We need it to guard this house. The evidence for that, she doesn't give a whole lot of evidence about that. How do details support the child's thinking? She doesn't really give a lot of details about it, but obviously having a safe home is important. If you start talking about safety and you say, this is going to protect me and keep me safe, people will listen, because everybody's worried about keeping safe. You want to keep your family safe. So that's her evidence. That's an important part of life, is to be safe. So this little gal, she has a pretty good reason there. She says, we need a dog. Here are the reasons. It's going to teach me to be responsible, and it's going to guard our house. She gives evidence. It has to be walked every day and has to be fed every day. That proves her point that she's going to have to be responsible. And that it guards the home. Well, it's a fact that everybody wants a safe home. So she's using a fact there to back up her claim. Let's see if I can get out of annotating. So you guys obviously can't share your chart with your partner because your partner is across town, but just go back through it. It's good if you write full sentences. If you don't, that's still okay. I just want you to really be thinking about what their point was and how they're building their argument. You always want to have good evidence and reasoning when you're building an argument. The academic talk here, make sure you're looking for that word persuade, and you do this all the time. You do it with your brothers and sisters. You definitely do it with your parents and grandparents, persuading people to do what you want and do something. Your reasons, your points. Your point is what your message is. What's your argument? What's your point? And evidence, we know what evidence is. We've been focusing on that. That's getting those facts, getting that example, telling us where you're getting that information from. That's your evidence, your proof. Bring home your book. So this is your novel, Bud Not Buddy. If you didn't bring it home, that's okay, because I did read it aloud to you guys. This link is on our Google Classroom, but it's also, if you go to missdressersclass.com, you'll find all of those videos there. The question last week was, what can you infer about the way Bud feels towards his dad? Remember, to infer something means that you're using information that's there, but you're making it a guess. Like an author doesn't say outright how he feels towards his dad, but you're taking little pieces of evidence and figuring it out yourself. So some of you guys said that he was thinking that his dad is friendly and nice. And he does say that he thinks that, but that doesn't really say how he feels. So how you think about something, the author actually said what Bud was thinking. That when Bud looked at the picture, he thought, oh, that guy looks really nice. He seems like a nice guy. That is my dad. But how he feels is a little bit different. So when you talk about how someone feels, some kids said that he misses his dad, and the evidence that they gave was that he kept taking out a piece of paper and looking at the flyer of his dad and then folding it up and putting it away and looking at it again. And the paper was so worn out because he kept looking at it so much that that was proof that he misses his dad, that he loves his dad. So you guys had some good answers there. This week, you're going to be answering another question. This is a two-part question. So after reading chapters 5 through 8, what reasons does Bugs give Bud for hopping trains? And what reasons does the mouth organ man give Bud to stay in Hooverville? So this is a two-part question. And this is what related to what we just did with Ready Common Core. You want to figure out the reasons. So Bugs gives up some reasons, and the mouth organ man gives reasons. And they're just trying to convince Bud to do what they want. Bugs wants Bud to hop on trains with them, and the mouth organ man wants Bud to stay put in Hooverville. So what are they even talking about? What are those things? You guys probably don't know, but this is an image of somebody hopping trains, and to hop on a train literally means that you're running alongside a train that's going down a track and you jump on the train. And then if that train is headed off to Georgia, you are going and getting pulled off to Georgia. If the train is going to Massachusetts and you're hanging on the back of it, you're going to Massachusetts with it. The nice thing about hopping on trains is that it is free. This dude is not buying a ticket. He's not paying anybody. He's just hopping on that train. The bad news about that is that you can't decide where you want to stop. You are risking your entire life to hop on that train. It's a very dangerous thing. I do not recommend hopping on trains, but Bugs does recommend hopping on trains, and Bugs actually tries to convince Bud to do that. I want you guys to go to page 62 in that book and find out, what are Bugs's reasons for hopping on trains? Why is he trying to get his friend to do this incredibly dangerous thing? That's your mission. That's the first part of your question. The second one is related to staying there. So the mouth organ man says that Bud should stay in Hooverville. What is Hooverville? What does that even mean? Do you guys know? Really? Okay. So Hooverville is named after the president, 31st president, Herbert Hoover. And he was president during something called the Great Depression. This is actually what we're studying in social studies this week. So you guys have some videos that you're watching on it. It's right around the early 1900s. This is when World War I happened. And as we all know, wars are very, very expensive. So this huge war happened and it cost America a lot of money. And people started getting worried about their money, so they went to the bank and they tried to pull out all their money. And if everybody goes to the bank at the same time and tries to take out their money, the bank's not going to have any more money in it. And then it ends up being this economic collapse. And it was called the Great Depression, and a lot of people lost their money. They lost their jobs. So this is Herbert Hoover. This is the president at the time. And so there's Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover did not want these towns. They named these little shanty towns after him, but he wasn't proud of them. It's not like he liked that. People were mad at him because they had no money, and he was president at the time, so they blamed him. He was the one in charge. So these little shanty towns is what they're called. So they were made out of cardboard or tinfoil or anything people could find, and they would live in these little communities. Well, in our story that we're reading, the mouth organ man, we don't even know the man's name, but they called him the mouth organ man, gives Bud a reason to stay in Hooverville. So your job is to go to page 68 and find out, what was that guy's reason? Why was he trying to convince Bud to stay in Hooverville? We have this shack here. Why would he want his kid to stay in this shack? That's your mission to find out. So when you guys are done with that and you have your answer, you're going to go to Google Classroom and you're going to put your answer right in there. I'm going to read it and give you feedback. This has a little bit more information on it. And again, this is all on thestressorsclass.com. It's also on Social Studies Weekly. So you can, week 25, that's what we're looking at. This has a lot of information about Hooverville. And the story tells you a lot about it too. Hi, everybody.